Welcome back to this 001 Game Creator video tutorial series, where we'll be continuing to cover how to create online multiplayer games using the MMORPG DLC Kit as a base. In this third tutorial, we'll be looking into how item quests and kill quests are created. Create a new actor on the spawn map, selecting the dynamic actor template under NPC actors. Then double click on the talk to/activated trigger to open the script editor and create a multi-comparison branch event inside the server code subscript. For the expression, click on the small use value button, type get into the search box, and double click on the objective get custom event. For the username, click on the small use value button, type name into the search box, and double click on the display name use value underneath actor. Set the actor to relate, and click OK. The objective needs to be unique for each quest. Since this is an item quest, I'm going to use quest_item. Then set the default value to 0. For the first 3 values of the multi-comparison branch event, type 0, 1 and 2 respectively. These values represent the different stages of our quest. Create an events message box custom event that tells the player about the quest to find an elixir. Feel free to customize it to your liking, and then add 2 choices at the bottom for the player to accept or decline the quest. For the client ID, click on the small use value button and double click actor variable at the top of the list. Select actor relate and then select the client ID variable. Then create a server notification event, setting up the client ID like before, and typing an appropriate message that informs the player that a new quest has started. Now click on the expand events button, type set into the search box, and double click on the objective set custom event. Set the username to the display name of actor relate, the objective to quest_item, and the value to 1 to signal the start of the quest. Select the multi-comparison branch event and add a regular comparison branch with the expression set to number of items, inventory only, with actor relate, and the item set to elixir. Then set the operator to greater than and the value to 0. Add a server notification event that thanks the player for retrieving the item. Then click on the expand events button, type experience into the search box, and double click on the add experience custom event. Set the client ID like before, and set the amount to 250. Then click on the expand events button again, this time typing money into the search box, and double clicking on the add money custom event. Set the client ID like before, and set the amount to 100. Now duplicate the objective set custom event we created earlier, and attach it to the add money event. Edit the event, and set the value to 2 to signal that the quest has been completed. Select the comparison branch event, and add a server notification event to inform the player that they still haven't retrieved the elixir. Lastly, select the multi-comparison branch event, and add a final server notification event that thanks the player for retrieving the elixir and that they've already claimed their reward. Now that we have an item quest working, let's create a kill quest. Create a new actor using the dynamic actor template like we did for the item quest. Then double click on the talk to/activated trigger to open the script editor and create a comparison branch event inside the server code subscript. For the expression, click on the small use value button, type get into the search box, and double click on the objective get custom event. Set the username to the display name of actor relate and the objective to rock_crab_killed. Set the default value to 0 and click OK. Then set the operator to not equal and the value to done. Now duplicate the comparison branch event and attach it to the left node of the first comparison branch event. Edit the duplicated comparison branch event, changing the operator to greater than or equal and the value to 5. Then create an add experience custom event, followed by an add money custom event, like we did for the item quest, with the amounts set to 800 and 150 respectively. Now add an objective set custom event, with the same username and objective as before, but with the value set to done. Follow that with the server notification event, with an appropriate message that thanks the player for completing the quest. Next, select the second comparison branch event, and add a server notification event that informs the player of the kill quest, and to complete it, they need to destroy a minimum of 5 rock crabs. Finally, select the first comparison branch event and add one more server notification custom event that thanks the player for taking care of the rock crabs and that they've already collected their reward. Now we just need to create the rock crab enemies our player will be fighting. Select the monster area map from the panel in the bottom left corner of the screen. In the area with the slimes, create a new rock crab actor located under server actor, NPC actors, enemies, crab. Once created, right-click and copy the actor, then paste at least 2 more on the map. Our quest requires the player to destroy at least 5 rock crabs, but instead of simply placing 5 crabs on the map, we're going to use a timer to respawn crabs that have been defeated. Click on the timer spawn icon, move your mouse cursor over one of your rock crabs, and left-click to place it. Then set the initial delay to 0, the every interval to 5 seconds, and tick the add counter to spawned actors' names checkbox. Do the same for the remaining 2 rock crabs. The maximum simultaneous spawned actors value will ensure that only 1 rock crab from each timer is on screen at any given time, meaning that if we don't destroy the rock crabs before the next timer cycle, it won't suddenly spawn another set of rock crabs. Now all that's left is to edit the rock crab's actor template in order to make it count towards the player's objective. To do this, click on the Actor Templates button along the main toolbar and select the rock crab template. Click on the Edit Base Actor button and then create a defeated/destroyed trigger. Create a comparison branch event, and for the expression, click on the small use value button, type server into the search box, and double click on the launched as server use value. Set the operator to equal and the value to yes. Then create a second comparison branch event, click on the small use value button again, this time typing get into the search box, and double clicking on the objective get custom event. For the username, click on the small use value button, type username into the search box, and double click on the unformat username custom event. Then click on the small use value button once more, and double click on the actor variable use value at the top of the list. Set the actor to this, and the variable to last damage. Set the objective to rock_crab_killed, and the value to 0. Then set the operator to not equal, and the value to done. Select and copy the text inside the expression text box, and then create an objective set custom event. For the username, use unformat username with last damage for actor this. Set the objective to rock_crab_killed, and for the value, click on the small use value button, select value from the top of the list, and then paste the copy text into the value text box. Add +1 onto the end of the value and click OK. Now whenever a rock crab is destroyed, the objective will increase by 1 until the quest has been completed. Test your game to see your 2 different types of quests in action. Move the player to the bottom of the spawn map and speak to Buddy Bob in order to receive some items, including a weapon you can use to fight the rock crabs with. In the next tutorial, we'll be looking into how to create console commands and building your game.